Okay, today is the 17th June. A MicroProfile technical call. Please help out with the minutes. Let me share my screen. Share. To just share the document. Technical share. Okay, please put in your name on the agenda. So the first line business is good to run in here. So it's I think it's only a couple more kind of issues left for MicroProfile tutorial. So it's basically I kind of reviewed most of them, and then I also spotted some minor issues for Turan fix. So Turan, do you want to have a quick kind of the summary on where we are on the MicroProfile tutorial?
Yeah. So as I shared last time, the sample code is all verified, checked in, so is ready to merge. So just a half an hour back, I shared an email. Last week, I fixed all the issues you reported, Emily, about the source code. So I have added comprehensive README files for each of the chapters, and then the source code is there for each of the chapters. Yeah, this is for all the chapters where we have practical examples. So they are covered. So this is ready to be merged. I have removed all the generated code. So no modified git ignore. And now only source code will be given to users who check out. And README file. So they can build and all the target files will be generated. So it is not checked in. So this is, yeah, this is ready for merge. Then there was one more repository, which was, so here there are two pull requests. So this one is the fix for the issue which you shared. While testing, I was using a local development GitHub repository. And now, since the testing of the site is complete, so I can change this references from my local repository to the repository where finally the things will get merged. And here, this is a minor fix about just ensuring fonts are up to date. Favicon was missing in my earlier branding for MicroProfile tutorial. So Favicon is fixed, and I double checked all the places where fonts were used. So Lato and Roboto, whatever is there in the guideline for branding, I have used that. So that this is the PR about that. So this is all ready to merge. And if we merge it, then we can start deploying it in the site. In maybe we have to just point it to the custom domain and enable the tutorial for the public. So website, we can enable. I don't have permissions to run GitHub Actions, so I can't test this further. But yes, I have tested this using my my dev repository, my forked repository. But yes, here maybe we need a meeting or something just to ensure that site is generated and actions and all are also getting executed.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. So basically, you are saying merging this PR, and then kind of the UI, the backend will be built. So we need to basically yeah. So review and merge this the UI, and then we need to have an end-to-end demo. Maybe we
Yeah.
could schedule, I mean, probably not next week, maybe week after, because next week will be steering committee call. And then you can do an end-to-end. Okay, that sounds good. I think it's kind of towards the end. So it's so pretty much you done all the kind of the yeah, it's heavy lifting, and this is pretty much towards the end. I think you
Yes.
only need to resolve kind of the merge conflict on this PR, and then I think should be
Is
good.
there? No, I don't see the merge conflict, so it's
Pretty much
resolved.
the git ignore thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a conflict. Okay, I'll fix that then.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Turan. Any also is kind of the other thing is kind of once we merge the things, we need to volunteer to follow through the code examples. Obviously, that's hundreds of code. I wouldn't be able to kind of the check line by line. But if anyone like have any yeah, any spare time, it would be great if someone can look at the basically the code and try it out. So that would be great. If I have time, I don't know, probably I won't. So it's yeah, it's open to everybody here. So also I will send them email to the mailing list to see anybody have any kind of interest and session want to try out the examples. So this is pretty good opportunity to learn the whole MicroProfile specs.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Turan. And then we will work with you and to get this PR merged ASAP, hopefully in the next couple of days. And then you can start to prepare for the kind of the end-to-end demo and make sure it's all looks good, and you can fix the things getting ready for the next show. Yeah, great.
Yeah, thanks, Tarun. I hope to. I probably won't get through all the chapters, but I hope to try it out. I know Ed brought expressed some interest as well. So not to put Ed on the spot.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
took a
Sure.
look at it, but I didn't get very far. So
Yeah.
not because of the content, because I got distracted.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, at least 3 potential candidates. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Yes, just one more thing I will share that, for your convenience, there is a dev container setup also, which is there in the PR. So you can use it, or you can refer it to set up it locally. And the README files contain the instruction. So you can just follow it step by step. And for any project, you can open tutorial, and in addition to that, README file will help you to build and run the project, all the project in different chapters.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Turan.
Yeah, maybe we can then, in case of any inputs and all, that could be shared in the GitHub repository as an issue, or whatever. I will then track that, and anything support required will be able to provide.
Okay. So basically we will open issues on the tutorial repo. So and then tag you so you can
Or,
take
we can discuss that on the group also. So MicroProfile group could be used whichever way is convenient.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Thank you, Turan.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Any
Tarun.
other questions for Turan? Yeah, if not, thank you so much, Turan. I know it's quite late for you. And but great news is we're towards the end. Yeah, excited to see the new tutorials.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Turan. Okay, so the next thing is basically the OSS IH and live. So we discussed last week. So Ed kindly basically shared this PR here. As we all know, basically all our build is no longer working because of we rely on OSS RH. So this is kind of the, I had a brief look at this, no, this one. How come? This is the Halliday one. Yeah. So basically it's a kind of, it's a change from like a Nexus, basically this way authentication back to the central authentication, and then is kind of the creating all the different kind of the script to
So
try to.
we do a fair amount of rolling our own because we've had trouble with other mechanisms in the past. So
Yeah, so this is quite a fundamental. Thank you so much, Ed, for sharing that. So, and then I had a quick look, basically in our kind of MicroProfile parent. So we use basically OSS RH and then point to the basically sonotype this. And then further down, there's a more basically is so further down basically the push bit. So the when we trying to do staging, we push artifact to the to this staging repo. This is no longer working. I know Michael is on the call here. Is Michael, you join in to trying to figure out how to fix the build, right?
Right. I'm just mainly interested what the direction is going to be.
Yeah. So the direction is change from the OSSRH to central. Now open questions. Who has experience of doing this? Can we get someone to change our build? So basically that script to use to basically is use some of the reference from Halliday's the PR, like what Ed has shared to fix this issue. Can we have a volunteer? Okay, no volunteer. Okay, what I'm going to do is I will send an email to the Google group and to have this to open up a conversation to see anybody else have kind of any experience with OSS RH, basically that setup, and also I think the central setup is a brand new. Roberto, do you know in Wildfly, not Wildfly, in Samora release, do you also done this change? Do you use OSS RH?
No, we use Central. We did it like a long time ago.
Or you directly use the central?
Yes.
So do you know how to do it?
Yeah, I mean they have like a migration process where you have to change the credentials from one to the other. I mean the credential I think that the credentials are still the same, but you need to generate like a new key or a new token, I mean, and you need to migrate the group ID to the new server. So as far as I remember, you have to log in. You have to ask for there is like there's like a form where you'll just say, please migrate to Central, and then you have to generate like a new token and update whatever release scripts you have with the new token.
The migration bit has been done by Eclipse Foundation.
So was that the migration on for Central that's already being done?
Yes.
Okay. So if that's already done, then what you need is of course change the POM files for the distribution center or distribution management to use the new link or the new URL and change the token on the release scripts. And I guess that's on Jenkins.
I see. Do you think you have you can do it, or you are busy?
I can try to have a look here.
Okay, thank you, Roberto. Okay, that's great. Thank you. The other thing is the kind of the last time I brought this up, like a security breach. So I did reach out to Cesar, and David. Cesar came back with some suggestions. I posted back to the kind of the data issue. So it's yeah, I basically so far I haven't heard of anything since. So we will just put on hold so far, and we will see what will happen. So the next one is the MicroProfile 7.1 release. So basically all the ballots are finished. And then thank you, John. You created the basically the slide and etc. And Ryan did the let's see. Yeah, it's alive.
Well, Lukeman did a lot of the work. I just kind of fixed a couple of slides with updated information that had changed since his initial.
Oh, Lakman. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Lakman, if you are listening to the recording. Always pass on the thanks to him. Yeah, oh, that's good. So, and I think his rant that he will push basically social media, he will do the social media push for this MicroProfile. Hello, we celebrate a MicroProfile 7.1 release. Yeah, hooray. Yeah, that's good. Are there any questions for 7.1? Released today.
Thanks to everybody who pushed that forward, especially you, Emily.
Thank you. Yeah, great, Timo. Okay, great. So yeah, take a moment to celebrate this MicroProfile 7.1 release. So that's great. Okay, next bigger discussion. So so I put basically the link here. So for the folks who was not subscribed to Jakarta spec, can basically read all the comment there. So I'll give you some context on how these things come up. Based on our recent conversation, basically people confused about who will make a decision about the package names and etc. So at first I reached out to EMO trying to find out, and the EMO saying the Jakarta group will make a decision. And then I discussed like in the Jakarta spec committee, trying to work out is that a project, Jakarta project make the decision on the namespace, or Jakarta spec a committee make a decision. And then it's figured out basically Jakarta spec committee make a decision. And then look at the JESP. In the basically Jakarta spec committee, I think I brought this up in the past. So here is just saying all development modified content in the JavaX namespace must be moved to Jakarta namespace. And then all Jakarta names development must occur within the scope of spec project operating under the purview of the Jakarta spec committee and must implement the process as defined. Most recent adopt revision GSP. User namespace is limited to the API artifacts. So it must be used by any development, including application TCK tools, libraries, and others. So it's kind of, I read this many times. So didn't suggest like all the spec must use the Jakarta namespace. And then people on the call, someone saying, okay, in the very beginning, we're moving JavaX to Jakarta. It's the intent, basically it's intention, or people feel this implies all the spec must use the Jakarta namespace. And then basically I thought that's not my understanding. So it's kind of, and then it's kind of run into a huge discussion. So there was a suggestion to basically vote on the call. I objected. So it's a kind of, I thought this is such a huge change. And I want to basically put on the public mailing list, and also people need to think it through before they vote such a significant change. So that's why it's basically that's why is and eventually with some length discussion, eventually it's end up with in the mailing list. So it's so if you look at basically so it's so yeah, so this is kind of the, and then there was basically GSP kind of the update, because it's kind of for someone is they said okay is implies, but I don't think that sentence means implies. So for me, it's a huge change. Other than my concern is kind of all the send a really negative message to basically to the community, because it's pretty much everything come to Jakarta. The first brainwash is to change the namespace. I think like for customers, it's the kind of they spend there's no business need for them to change the namespace, and now they have to either spend the money, time to change the namespace. And besides, there's no Eclipse Foundation own the whole IP. There's no reason whatsoever to have this namespace change. And then another implication is, what about the stabilized or deprecated spec, like open tracing, and also like some other spec telemetry? So what will happen? So it's pretty much, I think this is really kind of, that's why kind of IBM and voted -1, and also Oracle also voted -1. So that's the kind of the, basically to give you the quick overview and context for this. So it's I want to open for basically discussion and etc. Yeah, go from there. Okay, Yan, you have your hands up.
Yeah, by the way, Tanya finally said she thinks it's a good idea to stop that ballot and have further discussion on that topic. I would say this was shocking to me. While I'm generally with that intent, having an aligned naming convention for the specification for further development, I really disagree on that PR because that was, surprisingly decided in the specification committee without further consultation to involve parties and with huge consequences. And doing that as a minor update at the end in that pull request is wrong too, from my perspective. So I brought that up in the Jakarta platform meeting today, and also in the open working group meeting today. And yeah, I think that should be done better in the future. Making decisions in an informed way and not causing friction. You mentioned already it would not be possible with such a PR implemented that LTS versions can get service releases on the existing namespace, which perfectly makes sense to not fix security issues with a breaking change, while to have the namespace changed together with that. And also for MP telemetry, getting forced maybe to invent a Jakarta API artifact for that specification really does not make sense. We did that for MicroProfile for good reasons, and that hasn't changed. So yeah, I think regarding the concerns you, John, had on the general topic, moving these specifications towards the Jakarta EE working group, namely participation. So I brought up that I hope that we could change some of the things within the Jakarta working group with things we do in MicroProfile already, and take over as best practices and lessons learned, like open meetings, maybe recordings to meetings. And also I brought up the idea Reza at the beginning brought up, that maybe having an additional committer representative at the steering committee could make sense to involve people in decisions, and maybe that could make sense on the specification committee too, if somebody wants to take that opportunity. Yeah, from my perspective, it was listened carefully, and maybe some of these changes could happen. Let's see. So that will be a further discussion. Another point regarding that, if we need longer for our decision how to merge and if to merge these working groups, then we need to bring up the topic on MicroProfile config moving to Jakarta config. So Jakarta EE 12 development is not blocked.
One clarification. So they didn't make a decision. What they did was make a proposal, and the proposal was taken to a vote. And I mean, it's not 100% clear to me, but I think the vote has been rejected because two strategic members have voted against it, and they would have to have a 2/3 majority of strategic members, which they do not. Which this vote does not currently have.
Yeah, that's
So that's, I mean, in some sense, you could say, well, okay, the vote maybe was ill-considered, but it is the way, this is kind of the way community processes work. Sometimes it's messy and votes happen, but maybe in this case, at least in my opinion, mine and Emily's opinion, the right thing is happening. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, from my understanding, I think I'm with you, Ed. You need to have a supermajority from the strategic member as well. So, okay. Yeah.
Good to know.
Okay, so John.
Yeah, and I mean, Ed, I do take your comment to heart, but you know, one of the things that worries me is the fact that it even got this far the way it did, right? What I'm worried about, a lot of what I'm worried about is what I think are some of the cultural differences between the two working groups. And Jan, thank you very much for bringing up, you know, the ideas of more transparency, open meetings, and everything. I think I do think that's very important, in my opinion, including the steering committee. Right, I really do think that should be more transparent and open. Um, now I do, um, I, I do worry that after a move, that a lot of these very, boy, I gotta select my words a little bit carefully. Strong-willed people would, you know, be pretty aggressive about changing the way MicroProfile does things, right? And then it's too late for MicroProfile. Um, so I am thankful that, you know, to Ed and Oracle and Emily and everything, right, and Jan, for the support that they've kind of brought, but it's still something that worries me quite a bit. And that's where I think that, you know, Tommy Tribe is 100% correct in that kind of having two different approaches to doing spec development with MicroProfile and Jakarta, there are benefits, right, to that. We can fall back. You know, if someone wants to do a new spec, they can decide which working group that they would want to do that in, not just because of maybe where it belongs, because of microservices and microprofile and stuff, but also from a governance perspective and the way the community operates. I do like having that flexibility. So um, I guess I'll leave it at that. The end.
Yeah, okay. Any other kind of points? So is it,
Yeah, I don't have a hand raise button that I can find, so I'll just start talking. Well, I mean, so part of the issue is MicroProfile just decided to flatten everything. Jakarta has a structure where it has very segmented um, groups, but that includes the fact that it really delegates a lot of its behaviors, at least in terms of the specifications, to the specification project. So I brought up before that MicroProfile could just develop an umbrella specification project in Jakarta and basically function under that project and not really worry too much about how the steering committee and the specification committee are impacting it. Because in general, they're only dealing with administrative type issues. They're not really getting into the behavior of specifications. And the JASP is an extension of the Eclipse development process, which pretty much, states that the specification projects have a lot of flexibility in terms of how they operate. And they can choose their own local voting procedures. They're the ones who come up with the roadmaps, etc. I mean, the steering committee is just, and the steering and spec committee are there just to, make sure that the general guidelines are followed. And I agree with Emily that the Jakarta namespace strictly was related to that Java X namespace transition. To me, it's a very hostile approach to look at if you're bringing in new specification projects that already have existing user base to impose the Jakarta namespace on them. I mean, that would pretty much, to me, if I'm an external project, say I'm not going to do it, because why would I ever put my users through that type of pain? And in fact, if that's somehow enforced, I can see vendors, including Red Hat's projects, simply creating an API namespace to pass the TCK, but then we're going to have a fork of those MicroProfile APIs that uses the original namespace so that our users don't have to screw around with it. So all you're going to do is cause more confusion. You're not helping anybody with anything.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, I disagree regarding the future development. The discussions with the users I had on Javaland, especially as this topic came up, was very positive regarding, yeah, let's make 1 out of 2 and having an aligned naming convention for these specifications. That would be a benefit to users, especially you don't have to explain why there are 2 namespaces. Taking the right one, of course, having support on the existing ones might be important to them too. So that's a different story. But besides that, I had a straw poll and open, and not everybody voted. Tommy Tribe added a vote, but I would like to extend that to get the complete picture. I expect that Red Hat is voting like it votes on the general direction straw poll from Emily. But it would be nice to have the complete picture on that. So I think Primeton, IBM, and Red Hat is missing on that. I can send a reminder on the mailing lists to complete that. And then we might need to find out what will be the future direction. So we could find out what is the namespace, the rich namespace, future namespace for MicroProfile from the MicroProfile working group site. So that could be a separate straw poll to clarify that from the MicroProfile working group's perspective. And maybe asking the both most voted options, like keeping the existing one or using the Jakarta one, could be an idea for that straw poll set. To clarify that, and maybe we can also suggest to have the Jakarta steering committee have a straw poll or a vote on if they would accept the donation. So then we could do a binding vote on that. And maybe before we try to find out if we can get rid of some of the concerns currently exist. Maybe getting also some clarification what we can bring from the MicroProfile governance way into Jakarta. There are things I would like to keep, relatively simple things like the release cadence that should be higher than 1 or 2 every 2 years with a LTS Java EE release. But also other things, having a separate meeting for the Jakarta EE micro empty space profile, let's say, as an example, to manage the umbrella spec. Then it would be possible to promote frequent releases there too. One thing I heard from Eva at Javaland, he really would like to keep our community call, because there's nothing similar on the Jakarta side. Regarding governance, make them, the meetings public, make them recorded. I think keeping a separate spec committee just makes sense, because there need to be 31 specifications to manage. Additionally, there are MicroProfile specifications coming on top. So having a separate committee releasing them and reviewing them could still make sense. But it should be open in a way that, for example, you can watch the recording of the last meeting to find out what happened there and what caused that wording of that ballot that was started.
Okay, thank you, Ian. John.
Yeah, I've kind of thinking a little bit too about discussions around what would happen to some of the current specs if they moved into Jakarta, right? So we have config is the immediate example, right? There's kind of a forcing function of Jakarta 12, where that would kind of probably lead the way. Then there's JWT might fall under security. REST client might fall under REST. So what's left? Right? We got four specs that would be at a MicroProfile profile within Jakarta, and the rest are standalone, right? Like the reactor specs, for example, and GraphQL and stuff. So what does that mean to have a MicroProfile profile if there are only four specs? And what would happen if there was an attempt to move the specs into these other projects? And I think the namespace issue would amplify by having mixed namespaces potentially um, in another project. So there's some difficult, I guess, kind of I don't want to say discussion decisions. Again, it's not that people are trying to necessarily take over, but it's a difficult situation. Like in that case, if you got a single spec with multiple namespaces, that would be difficult. And is moving those specs over to those other projects the right thing to do? Open question.
Yeah, so I mean that's one of the reasons why I think that this namespace discussion does not make any sense, right? Because if what we're saying right now is that okay, when projects move, they all of them gonna have changed to the namespace to Jakarta. But we also know that, as you said, some of these specifications may either get merged or may turn into some other things like Jakarta config. So are you going to do another namespace change again, right? Because right now, I'm guessing that if you go with the namespace change from Eclipse or MicroProfile to Jakarta will be MicroProfile, Jakarta, REST client, wherever. But then if that moves to Jakarta REST, then it's going to have to follow the naming convention of Jakarta, but it's going to be different, right? So now we're putting users through the pain of having two namespace changes, or what you're actually saying is that because we're already done once, then probably not going to want to do that twice or having those project merged because now we are also going to have that pain again into the users, right? So for me, that's the main reason why these namespace change or these namespace discussion does not make any sense, because we don't know yet what's going to happen with all these specifications on MicroProfile, right? So we cannot just blindly change the namespace without knowing what's going to happen, if things are going to get merged, if things are going to be discarded, if things are going to get deprecated, if things are going to turn into new specs, right? So without having that discussion, we have these decisions. I think doing any namespace change is just like a premature thing, just going to cause pain without any real benefit.
Which is exactly why I've been saying you should leave this up to the committer teams if the specs are merged, and there should not be any mandate about what has
Exactly.
to
I
happen.
think that's a sensible approach, a sensible reasoning, right? So let everyone decides later, just not force things right now.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
I'm with
that,
you.
yeah, exactly. So I think so that's why I started the ballot. Basically, it's based on the original feedback. So it's basically the namespace. So we move as it is, and then namespace can be decided by the project team. So I think that makes sense. As you say, Roberto, for some spec, it's going to be merged. And it's better just go to the destination. It's why it's doing visiting kind of tasks. Okay, so Ian, your hands up.
Yeah, I think it really makes sense to find out what will be the future of these specifications, and yeah, doing namespace changes for a short period and then change them again does not really make sense.
That would be
Today
wrong.
in the platform meeting, there was a discussion on that topic too. So the minimum expected for Jakarta E12 in the short period of time or in the short run will be the config topic. But yeah, then some people mentioned, yeah, they want to integrate MicroProfile JOT, and that REST client is a candidate too. As far as I know, the current plan and progress reviews having made and program plans for these specifications, not including that topic now. The only exception is that Jakarta config topic. So nothing is set in stone yet, and it's a good idea to find out and move and circumvent any friction that could happen. So at some point we need to start a collaborative session, I think, and work from both sides on these topics. And maybe we came with a migration plan, that has covered a lot of exceptions for each specification.
Ed, you try to talk as well, Ed.
Oh, I talked. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I added a couple of comments in the chat, but this is just my own thoughts and, relative to what's going on. But this is not going to be easy by any means, and I'm sure we all know that, but we'll work through it. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah, basically it's a kind of it's a bigger task. Okay. Well, we will basically continue the conversation, and then people can continue kind of the share, and then so basically it's a kind of please have a look at the take a read of the minutes to make sure I have done the justice of putting your name there and write the right thing or not. And then I think I have another thought, have a more thinking and discuss internally. And then I think if we couldn't settle anything kind of the big and the move, and then next thing maybe is kind of based on what Ian suggests, maybe we'll discuss again moving whether people cannot agree to move MP config to Jakarta. Maybe they can start with that and test water. But again, even for moving that, I think we need to discuss. And also, I think we have to do a ballot with that, because that would be a contribute IP and etc. So, but anyway, kind of think through all the different variations, and then we come back to discuss. I think John, do you want to say something for next week's?
Oh yeah, nice segue. Next week is a steering committee call because it's the end of the month and we have to have one. Sorry, end of the quarter. We have to have one once a quarter. So it's actually pretty good timing anyway. So next week is a steering committee call. Thanks.
Okay, great. Okay, next week, please, join next week. We are having the steering committee. Okay, so that's a great. Any last minute comment? If not, you have 5 minutes back, and I will talk to you later. Yeah, bye everybody. Take
All right,
care.
thank you.
Take care, folks. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.